A deadly round of Russian airstrikes yet again in Ukraine overnight as the two sides get ready to come back to the negotiating table for peace talks. Ukrainian officials say at least 10 people were killed, 33 injured in a barrage of aerial assaults across that country. The Ukrainian Air Force says Russia carried out 114 separate attacks with drones and missiles. That's ahead of a proposed second round of direct peace talks slated for Monday in Istanbul. Russian officials haven't revealed their terms for a potential deal, but did tell the UN Friday that a simple ceasefire isn't enough to end the war. Foreign correspondent Marcus Moore is following the story for us from London. Marcus, what more do we know about these latest Russian airstrikes in Ukraine? They seems to be a big round as far as they go.
Yeah, it's good to be with you again, Phil. These strikes were reported Friday and today across Ukraine, and so this very much remains a volatile time for innocent civilians caught in the middle of this war. Ukraine says these airstrikes were focused in Zaporizhia, the Zaporizhia region, which is in the central part of Ukraine, as well as Kharkiv and Sumy in the north, and Donetsk in the east. So various parts of Ukraine under fire today, Phil. These airstrikes continuing despite these looming talks that are expected on Monday.
Look, conventional thought would say a big round of airstrikes like this just before peace talks puts a little pressure on the Ukrainians, but that hasn't been what we've seen for the last 3 years. So what does this mean for those peace talks?
I mean, I think, Phil, it certainly does speak to the urgency of Monday's meeting because you have, again, an entire population facing the daily trauma of this war in Ukraine. And so on that level, there's hope that these talks will get somewhere. Of course, it's entirely possible that these talks could be postponed or called off. But I think both sides have shown a willingness to keep talking and hopefully get to some resolution, which is what so many around the globe want.
And the wild card in all of this really is President Trump. He says he hasn't been happy with either Presidents Putin or Zelensky. What more can the Trump administration do to move the needle here? He was pretty confident before he came into office that he could take care of this. He's been confident the whole time, and yet the war's still going on.
Yeah, I was going to say, Phil, we have to remember President Trump campaigned on ending this war swiftly, and that has not happened. So clearly this has shown to be a very difficult situation to resolve. I think when we consider what President Trump could do in the future to perhaps put pressure on Russia and Ukraine, we heard the president last week signal that the U.S. might consider more severe sanctions against Russia. But as we've seen so far, Russia has been able to navigate around many of the sanctions and continue financing this war. And at the same time, Phil, Ukraine hopes that the U.S. will continue to provide some support militarily. But in the meantime, they're also looking to Europe to fill any gaps from the reduced U.S. support. So really a lot at stake here, and a lot remains to be seen.
Just ahead of these Monday talks, Marcus Moore, thank you.